Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's in-depth ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I want to do a little forecast verification to get us started here. So we're going to go back to the end of August and look at the forecast for September, now that we're at the end of September. And what you've been looking at here was the European weeklies, a forecast for that time period. Now, because I won't be able to show you what happened in Canada just on my next couple of maps, I'll tell you something. This was a major whiff in the models. Way too wet here. In fact, it's been much drier for this part of the Canadian prairie. But of course, we had a tropical system we were discussing at the very beginning of September. But overall, we were calling for drier conditions in the southern plains, wet in the Four Corner states, and quite wet in the western Corn Belt in the northern, northwestern part of the Corn Belt, including the northern plains. Drier in the southeast. Now, the question is, how well did the models do? And also, don't forget, drier here in the Great Lakes states. Okay, got this kind of in the back of your mind? Well, this is what happened. All right. So, was there a wetter kind of swath in here? Yeah, there was, but we were much drier in this part of the western Corn Belt, so that was an area that was pretty poorly forecast. Models got this right, but certainly did not get the drier conditions that were in parts of the southeast. Got the drier conditions in the southern plains, but did we know it was going to be near record dryness other than the storms yesterday and today in and around the Red River Valley of the South? And in Montana, this was a major miss on the precipitation pattern there. So we just do this to verify what the forecast is, because I'm going to show you the new stuff here in just a few moments. And, you know, I used to be a professor, so I can give this a grade. I would give this one a C+, to be honest with you. And the big misses in places like Montana and parts of the western Corn Belt, I think, were critical to that lowering of a grade. So take me back to the days when I used to teach. From here, let's go look now at another thing that I'm getting asked a lot about. It's the upcoming winter forecast. And I'm going to just kind of put together a story for you about why you're probably seeing many of us giving you a very similar winter forecast. Maybe only very few people are not. So I'm going to show you what the CPC is doing, the Climate Prediction Center, and this is from NOAA. The color coding here kind of tells the story on the December, January, February precipitation forecast. And you can see that they're favoring warmer conditions from parts of the Great Basin through the Four Corner states, throughout the south and into the northeast. Where if there's a colder spot, it appears to be in the Pacific Northwest. Okay, keep that in the back of your mind as well. This is the precipitation forecast, and you see wetter in the northwest, drier along the southwest into the southern plains and into the southeast, with a wet corridor here in the Ohio River Valley. Now, when you look at this, what I'd like to make a point about here is, why do all of the forecasts for winter look something like this? And, you know, what kind of forecast accuracy are we going to have from the CPC, from me, from anybody else? So to do that, I think it'd be instructive to go back and look at last winter. So this was the forecast released in mid-October for winter 2020 to 2021. That'd be December, January, February. And again, do you notice some similarities? Wet in the northwest into the northern plains, active Ohio River Valley storm track into the Great Lakes, drier along the south. What were they calling for temperatures? Well, warmer to the south, all right? And if it's cool, it's coming into the northwest and into the northern plains. Now, why was that the forecast? Well, it was the forecast because this is what our ocean temperatures looked like at the end of September last year. And as we have been discussing, we were talking about the development of this La Nina last year, and then the kind of redevelopment of one this year. So I want to show you this again. This is the latest update compared to a year ago. So this is a year ago. Here's the latest update on those ocean temperatures. So you notice some differences in the North Pacific, but overall we still have another developing La Nina. Southern Oscillation Index is about a value of 9 to 10 right now. That's been the last month's average. That was actually very similar to what it was a year ago. Last year's La Nina peaked in January, in early February, and then waned pretty quickly. This year's, I think, is going to peak sooner than that and drop off, but we can talk more about that at another time. What I want to do is I want to show you this. Those ocean temperatures in the Central Pacific continue to drop off, okay? And so we've seen in Nino region 3.4, and just for clarity, that would be basically this box right in through here. That's Nino region 3.4. We've continued to see it cool down, and we do expect this La Nina to produce an average anomaly there, maybe between a half a degree, which would be here, and down to about negative 0.75. That would be my guess for much of the next 3 months at where it's going to spend its the temperatures during that time period. And there's quite a bit of supporting evidence for that. Let me get this restarted for you here. There you go. So from August all the way through September, you're looking at ocean temperatures compared to normal, but we're looking down in the ocean. So South America would be here, and Australia would be over here. This would be the ocean surface, and this would be going down in depth, down about 450 meters. That's getting down there pretty deep. What I want you to notice is the deep reservoir of cooler water that is upwelling here. And why I want you to notice that is that means that this La Nina is not just a fading feature. It's got support from below where there's more upwelling, while the downwelling is happening over here where these warmer anomalies are. This is very characteristic of a La Nina. So we expect it to continue, all right? So why do all those forecasts look the way they do? Well, I'm just going to show you something. I'm going to make a statement first, and the statement is this. When you think about long-range weather forecasting, anything beyond the next 3 to 4 weeks, but the only weather variable that correlates statistically such that you can use it as a predictor is ocean temperatures. So soil moisture helps as well, but not going into winter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this. December through, let's go through February, okay? We're looking at precipitation, compare it to the temperatures in Nino region 3.4, and you'll see the same figure I've shown you a few times. So this would tell you that if there is a La Nina, we tend to be wetter here and wetter there. See that? Drier south, drier southern plains, drier into the southeast. And that looks almost identical to the forecast that most folks are going to be sharing with you. Let's do another thing with this. Instead of looking at precipitation, let's go over and just flip this to temperature. Slide down here and take a look at this again. And this is what we get. When there's an El Nino, it tends to be warmer across the north interior of the U.S. and cooler than normal south. Well, La Ninas flip that. These reds would actually indicate cooler than normal conditions because it'd be the opposite of that correlation and warmer to the south. And that's why most of these long-range forecasts for temperature, look like that. So we only have one major piece of evidence at this point going into October for what this winter is going to look like. And it's just the fact that these ocean temperatures right now are cooling. Now, I'm going to remind you of something that happened last year. Can we come back to that forecast graphic? How about this one here first? Now, you remember that if you lived in Texas and I said what happened in winter 2021, the main event was the big Arctic outbreak that shot those temperatures into brutally cold record territory, right? That's what we're going to remember. Those kind of sub-seasonal events are going to happen no matter what. So predicting a winter pattern across North America is nearly impossible because it is extremely rare that it doesn't stay volatile, that it stays in one particular way. Do you know what I'm saying? So just keep that in the back of your mind as you go forward with this forecast. And I also want to give you one other point. This was up to a 30 to 40 inch snow deficit here in North Dakota, South Dakota, parts of Montana. And if you just look back to that winter forecast for precip, that was an area we expected to have above normal precip. So it's just a reminder that La Ninas don't make the forecast perfect and accurate, but they help increase skill with time. And just a reminder, this is what most forecasts are going to be looking like until we have better evidence getting into, through October and into November as to what the temperature pattern is going to look like and what the precipitation pattern is going to look like. So that's going to be most people's preliminary outlook. All right. From there, why don't we come back and take a look at this? This would be the last 72 hours of total accumulated precipitation. We've had a lot of it in the Central Plains, Four Corner states, some scattered showers in the Northeast, and some here in the Mid-South getting down to the lower Mississippi River Valley. We've also had quite a bit of rainfall that's come into the Northwest, and some of this rainfall has been kind of perfectly timed with winter wheat planting here in the Northwest. Just something to think about. Now today, some of these storms have been pretty nasty over the south. You can see right now lined up right here, some big storms coming out of this part of Texas and then into central Texas, capable of producing strong straight line winds, some big hail, and some of them are rotating. So we're keeping a close eye on that, some nasty storms there. This is Sam. I'm not going to talk about the tropics today because I'll just make one quick note. Sam's going to stay out to open ocean. We got Victor that formed behind Sam. It's going to stay even farther to the east. And as we go into October, just remember we tend to have a lot of homegrown tropical systems. So we're going to pay close attention to the Caribbean, the Gulf, and the Western Atlantic as we get into the month of October, but nothing there right now to be concerned about. So what are we going to be watching? Well, I'm going to show you the upper level winds first, and we're going to get a good idea of where this is going to go. We do have a short wave right here coming into British Columbia, and then this broader circulation, this upper level low that's still sitting over the Great Basin and the Four Corner states. Both of these features are going to work together in the coming days. They're going to move, just generally speaking, like this, and they're going to end up developing a cutoff low that's going to sit here over the Tennessee and Ohio River Valley, and I'm going to show you that in a few moments. But there's another part to this flow that I really want to discuss, and to show you that I got to come all the way over here to the Pacific. Because what we're seeing in this typhoon here is that over the coming days, it is going to move north and get absorbed into the jet stream level flow. And as a result, this could help, this feature right here could be a piece of what we could see in terms of some cold weather in the midsection of the country around October 10th through 15th, maybe that time frame. So we got a lot of these things to be watching, and I want to show you them carefully here, okay? So let's go to the jet stream, look at troughs and ridges, and piece this together. Now, as we go forward through Friday and into Saturday, okay, what we see is our first trough is right here. We do have the deeper trough in the Gulf of Alaska, but broad ridging elsewhere, coming up here toward, Hudson Bay. Now, what you're going to see is from Saturday into Sunday, this trough spreads rain into the eastern Cornbelt. And we have this deeper trough that's sweeping around here. And what ends up occurring is the lead edge of that now matches up with the trough that's going over the eastern Cornbelt, and watch. They sit there and just spin in this area while we have a high amplitude pattern on either side. It's almost like an omega pattern is starting to set up here. In the meantime, I'm not going to go back and show it to you, but that typhoon has now become a part of this deeper trough here. And watch this. This is next Tuesday. Going out into Wednesday and Thursday, we have a high over low. You could call it a block, but it's not going to stick around long enough. But it's a stagnation of the pattern here, which means this is going to cause problems in the eastern third of the country for much of next week in terms of rainfall. But what just came over into Alaska right here eventually dives down. See it? This is next Saturday the 9th. And in the operational European, tosses a deep trough in here by the 10th. It's also in the GFS. It's in the ensembles. You'll see that in a few seconds. And this was once part of this. Let me rephrase that. Part of this was once a typhoon way over here. So when we see all these things coming together, we call that typhoon recurving or curving. It's when they pull to the north and get into the jet stream pattern. They can, about 10 to 15 days down the road, impact North American weather. And we're right now seeing the models pick up on that. But I am at the end. I'm at a 240-hour forecast from a single operational run. So we have to just look at this and go, okay, we see it. Is it in the ensembles? I'm going to answer that question for you in just a few seconds. First, what we have in the near term, let's go back and look at it. Through today, getting into tonight, a lot of scattered storms in this area. And we saw the severe storms down here to the south. As we then get into the overnight hours tonight and into Friday morning, again, a lot of scattered storms on the lead edge of that cutoff low in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and possibly some precip that stretches through Minnesota back to the Dakotas into tomorrow afternoon. You're then going to see throughout the day on Friday, that's Friday night now, getting into Saturday, that a lot of those scattered storms begin to move into the eastern Corn Belt. It's going to be scattered, as you see here, hit or miss in this area, but we do have better chances for seeing those storms as the day wears on, getting into Saturday evening here. We're going to pick up from there with the European model. So we've already seen out here through Friday, getting into Saturday, and now here we are into Sunday. And at this point, we're going to watch the cutoff low take shape right here. And as that occurs, I can just put this on kind of repeat, because going out through Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we just keep seeing the flow coming around, bringing chances of rainfall into this whole corridor here, right? So watch, I'll go back. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. Do you see how it just sits there? And remember, if we get out there to the 9th, here comes the system 9th and 10th that I'm watching carefully. That's the one. Now, check back in with me on Monday when I release the next video. And if you get my morning reports, we'll of course keep you updated on this. But that's going to be the system I'm going to be on the lookout for, because should that one come in here, yeah, it's a snowmaker in the mountains. But there could be enough cold air on the backside that we get our first more widespread frost for the northwestern part of the Corn Belt. So we'll just keep an eye on it. That'd be right on time, by the way. So we'll watch that carefully. Stitch this all together in terms of total precip first. And we're going to just use the European model. So what you're going to notice is that through Saturday morning, this is going to be the area that gets the most rain. And we have the severe storms down here tonight. When does it move into the eastern Corn Belt? We'll watch throughout the day on Saturday and into Sunday and Monday. Now from this point forward, we're just going to keep filling this area in. It's done here. We're done with the rain. In fact, I should make that line a little clearer. We're going to be done with it on the backside here for a few days. It's just going to fill in on the eastern side. See that? And that's all the way out to next Thursday into Friday. So this is where we're going to start to pull in that moisture. So I'll kind of leave it here just so you can get an idea. Look at the color bar on total accumulated precip from the European model. But that's how this particular pattern is setting up through next Friday. Like I said, by day 10, look at the ensemble. It still has that trough coming through out there on October the 10th. What is interesting to me is that the models, the ensembles specifically, don't want to let that just come sweeping all the way through over here toward New England. They keep this larger protective ridge in place. They keep the pattern in the North Pacific amplified. And watch what happens through the 12th, 13th, 14th. The ensembles just keep deepening the trough here, not advancing it forward. This is a long wave pattern. In fact, it might even be smarter for me just to show you it from the top down. We just seem to have a lot of higher heights in these areas, giving us more ridging here, even though, yes, there's a trough there, but more ridging here with more troughing on this side and much higher jet stream momentum here. We're having a difficult time breaking down this ridge with time. So going all the way out there to mid-October, this is the pattern that we settle in, and I'm just going to tell you something. The long-range models don't want to break from it. They just don't. They see this as something that gets established, and they're going to stick with it. But I'm going to make a case here for you in a few moments that I think there might be some error in this, and I'll discuss it in just a second. But first, I got to talk about what that week 2 precipitation pattern looks like. If that trough comes in, that's rain for Northern California and Oregon, pushing through parts of Idaho and Montana, and this would spread better chances of rain into the Canadian prairie, one of the driest places in all of the Northern Hemisphere this past summer and early fall. We'd be drier to the south. I buy this forecast because the GFS is also bid into it as well. See the same thing here? This is the GFS week 2 forecast. Now, before we go long term, let's talk temperatures. Do a quick verification. End of August, this was the forecast for the month of September. The temperature forecast does not get as high as a score because this is what happened. So if you notice, it's hard to diagnose just one thing with how the pattern was missed, but a big pattern shift helped to bring in quite a bit of warm air to much of the plains, and that was not well forecast. And as you notice, we were expecting warmer conditions along the East Coast, and overall, we just didn't have it down here in the Southeast. So let's go ahead and toss another letter grade on this, D+. So I'm being a little harsh there, but I would have expected, I don't know, I think I would have expected better performance on that temperature forecast, given that I thought they had the height pattern nailed down. So next couple of days here, Thursday's highs, we've already seen these. Friday, that cooler air is really in place under that upper level trough. Still another warm one here, all right, compared to average. And watch the rebound getting into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday in the northern plains as that ridge builds in, the big ridge that we talked about there. The upper level low is getting ready to cut off here next week, which means as I go out to Tuesday and Wednesday, if you're under that upper level low in this area, it's going to be hard pressed to see warm temperatures. But the ridge runs over the top, and that's where the warmth is. And now you see out there about the 6th, the cool down that's beginning to happen. So let's look at those overnight temperatures first before I go to day 5 through 10. We do have the risk for frost here, but we're in the mountains and it's kind of expected. But take a look at Friday morning's lows and Saturday morning's lows. Let's go back to Friday morning. There could be some interior, all elevation dependent frost issues in parts of the Northeast, but this is all elevation dependent. After that, look at what the temperatures do Saturday into Sunday, getting into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I did that kind of fast because we just don't see any major risk of frost after that. Now let's look at that day 5 through 10 temperature pattern. So this is where you've got the ridge running over the top, the cutoff low to the south of it, and then we start to see the next deep trough coming in, and here it is fully established by day 10 through 15. Now again, what I'm concerned about is that it's not just going to stay here. I think it will advance through the middle of the country because it comes in with a positive tilt, which means it's tilted. The trough axis is that way. And those have to sweep through. That's how they're kind of designed. So I think we're going to get in this area a shot at colder air after after October 10th, 11th, 12th. And that could bring in the first frost for the northern plains in places that I haven't already had it. Okay? Now, you see this, and you saw the height pattern, and I want to show you the new long-range update from the European. MJO is still moving toward the Western Pacific. Momentum is still high in the North Pacific, but the models are not letting go of persistence. So this is mid-October to mid-November, and what do you see? Something similar to what we've been seeing with more lower heights here. And as a consequence of this pattern, the temperatures during that same time period look kind of like what we've had, or what we're going to have in the near term, right? I just don't buy into this. I think we're going to see so much volatility, and if something uncorks that pattern, that the way it's stuck with the ridging over, the Hudson Bay to parts of Europe, and then the troughing in the Gulf of Alaska, if that breaks, all of this is out the window. And that also includes this precipitation forecast. If we zoom in here, let's just zoom in to the United States. This is how things look from mid-October to mid-November. All right. This is a definite if we have those West Coast troughs. And that would bring in great early season precip, and the models have been forecasting this for a while. But I'll just say be aware of what's going on in the midsection of the country in the Ohio River Valley and then into the Northeast. Because if these troughs occasionally progress through, this will be much more active going forward. I still say that this is a good harvest forecast, though. It's not something where I'm looking at this going, we're going to get shut down because of the risk of too heavy a rain. No. And we are not, because of the heat we had this summer, in a situation where an early frost, which we're almost past those concerns for much of the northern tier of the United States, where that would be a problem. So I hope that assessment kind of sits well with all of you as well. So I'll wrap it up here. I'll talk to you again very soon. Thanks.